with this particular certification program, you had to go into a high need area. So you had to go in either special education, you had to go in math, reading, uh, there was English as a second language, and I believe science. So I think it was you had to go into one of those areas in order to be able to get alternatively certified. And so I chose special education. So when I sat down with them, they were like, what grade level do you want to work with? So quite naturally, I said high school, because it just made sense. We probably listened to the same music. I was in my mid-20s. We probably watched the same TV shows. I could probably coach. I could, make some extra money doing that. It was just ideal to go and work into a high school because I felt like I could relate to those kids probably better than any other group of kids. And so I guess they figured we're not going to give this guy what he wants. It was like a trick question or something, because they ended up not only not putting me in a high school, they ended up putting me in a kindergarten class. And so they got me in this kindergarten class for like the next 6 weeks with a bunch of kindergartners, and I have no idea what to do around a bunch of 5 and 6 year olds. Like, that's just something that I never saw. That's never a place I saw myself being. The only time I ever seen anything like that was like watching Kindergarten Cop, and so I'm sitting there like watching Kindergarten Cop to prepare for to be in this kindergarten class, and so it was probably one of the greatest experiences I've ever had in education. Like just at least even to prepare me to be in education, because it showed me the most basic level and the most foundational level of education, which is kindergarten. And so it showed me the challenges that those teachers and the skill sets that a teacher at that developmental grade level has to have in order to be able to, work with these kids that are really learning school. And so it was a great first experience, and I think that I wouldn't have wanted to come in. I wouldn't have wanted to come in any other way if I could go back and do it all over again. And so I remember the first day. I went in there, and the teacher I worked with was amazing. Like, she was a really good teacher, and she was a veteran teacher. She ended up retiring the next year. And so it was very good to be in there with a very experienced teacher that knew that had a good handle of the kids, which in turn allowed her to be able to, feel comfortable enough to give me some responsibilities and kind of ease me in the right way. And so she did a great job of just, providing me with guidance the entire time. But one thing I think that, not to her fault, I think we all kind of do this part. There's nuances of education that we don't necessarily provide people with guidance on. We kind of just expect them to just figure it out when they get into a school. And so I was a victim of that, definitely. For example, recess. Like, recess seems like a very simple thing, but, when I went out there to recess, we're out there, the kids just run out, they're spread out, they're playing here, they're playing there. And I'm sitting there like, so we're just going to stand here? Like, we're just going to just watch them play? And it was one of those things where I'm like, why, we're not doing anything? Like, should we be over here, like, talking to them or pushing them on the swing or helping them down the slide or whatever? Like, I just felt like I needed to be doing something because they're, like, little and, at that time, like, I'm thinking fragile and whatever. So I'm like, we gotta be doing something, right? You're supposed to play with kids, something. And so, at that point, instead of just standing there watching them, I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'll just go start pushing a kid on the swing. So when I went over there, I started pushing a kid on the swing, and then another kid comes over, like, push me, and the other one's like, push me. And so now, little did I realize that I was actually doing my job by standing there watching them, and now I've created a new job for myself. I'm to push the guy on the swing. I'm to push the kid on the swing guy. And so that's what I created for myself, because no one told me that, no, you don't have to go play with the kids. You literally are doing your job by watching them play. But supervision is a part of the job. But, that's not something that people just, overtly communicate to you, because I think we just make the assumption that, yeah, you would think that when you come out here, we supervise the kids. And so that was kind of one of those things that, for the next 6 weeks, I'm now pushing kids on the swing, because when you do it one day, kids have that expectation you're going to do it every day. And so take them into the cafeteria. We take them through line, make sure they get everything they need. And they're settled, now you go and you eat in a different room when you're a teacher. Well, the teacher just walked into the other room. She didn't say, "Hey, we're gonna go eat in this other room." So I'm thinking, like, I'm sitting there holding the tray, and the kid's like, "Hey," they didn't know my name. They were like, "Hey, sit with us," and I'm like, oh, I guess okay. So I sit down with the kids. But once you do it the first day, you got to do it every day. And one thing about sitting down with a bunch of kindergartners is kindergartners are not necessarily their table manners aren't necessarily the best. And so they can't open their milk carton, and so they've been trying to open their milk carton, they stick it up to their mouth, and so it's like slobber coming from they then hand it to you like, will you do it? And are you gonna say no? So now you put yourself in this position to ketchup packets, to have to open up ketchup packets that they've been biting on, they couldn't get open, and all these different things. But I think it was like one of the best experiences I possibly ever could have had, because, now I'm getting to know kids on their level. Like, and I never had that experience. Like, I was the only child, and, my cousins, my mom, my parents' friends, they didn't have young kids. And so I really hadn't had a lot of experience around kids that were 5, 6 years old. And so it was an opportunity for me to understand how they think, how they see the world. And even at that point in time, I was feeling all this pressure about life, and just being around them was an opportunity to just kind of sit back and see just how carefree it is to be a kid, and the luxury of that. And so it was kind of therapeutic for me to kind of be around them, hear their conversations, have meaningless conversations with them, and just not have to worry about life, and just kind of just be able to just have fun, which is their sole focus.